People talk about leadership like it's something you get a title, a job, a position of authority, something that comes with power. But the best leadership, it doesn't start with power, it doesn't even need it. Think about it. Some of the biggest shifts in history weren't led by people at the top. Movements, breakthroughs, change. They're usually driven by people without formal authority. People who see something that needs to change and decide to do something about it. So if you're sitting there thinking, I can't lead because I don't have authority, I've got bad news and good news. The bad news, no one's coming to hand you power. If you're waiting for permission to lead, you'll be waiting forever. The good news, you don't need it because leadership isn't about power, it's about influence. And if you understand how it works, you can lead without a title, without authority, and without waiting for someone to tell you it's your turn. Let's talk about how. People assume leadership comes from authority, that if you're in charge, people will listen. But leadership isn't about being in charge, it's about being followed, and a title won't guarantee that. You've seen it before, someone with authority, but no one really respects them. Their team nods in meetings, then ignores everything they just said. Their emails get skimmed at best. On paper, they lead. In reality, no one's following. That's because authority is just one kind of power, and it's not even the strongest one. Psychologists French and Raven mapped this out years ago. Leadership isn't just about who's in charge. Influence can come from expertise, from trust, from being the one who actually understands what's going on when everyone else is lost. And that kind of leadership, no one has to give you that. A lot of people are waiting for someone to tell them they're ready, waiting for a title to make them feel legitimate. But leadership doesn't start when you get authority. It starts when people start listening to you before you have it. In every workplace, there are people who hold things together without a title. The ones who get asked for advice, who shape how things run, who people turn to when things aren't going quite to plan. They don't wait for permission to lead, they just do. Because leadership isn't a job, it's a dynamic. It's about how people respond to you, not the title on your contract. And if you understand that, you stop waiting and start leading from wherever you are. People don't follow job titles, they follow people they trust. That's what leadership is. Not control, not authority, but trust. In every workplace, there are people with power but no real influence. And then there are the ones that people actually listen to. The ones others go to when things get difficult. The ones who make it feel safe to be honest, to ask questions, to challenge a bad idea without worrying about the consequences. That's leadership, not because it's assigned, but because people choose to follow. And the key to this is trust. Influence doesn't come from being right all the time or from having the best ideas. It comes from being the kind of person people want to listen to, the one who pays attention, who encourages real conversations, who makes others feel like they have a voice. The strange thing is, the people who create that kind of space usually aren't the ones in charge. They're the ones shaping up how things actually work. The ones who make it easier for others to think, to speak up, to move forward. And you don't need a title to be one of them. Without authority, you can't just demand change. You have to shape the way conversations happen. Most people resist being told they're wrong. No one wants to be backed into a corner, forced to defend an idea that isn't working. That's why direct confrontation often doesn't lead to change. It just makes people dig in. But if you shift how the conversation happens, you shift how people respond, instead of telling someone their idea won't work, you open up a different way of looking at the problem. Instead of shutting something down, you introduce an alternative. It's not about being passive or manipulative. It's about understanding how to get people to actually listen. Because here's the thing. Bad ideas don't survive because they're good. They survive because people are too defensive to let them go. The moment you remove that defensiveness, you create the space for something better. People like to think that leadership is about big dramatic moments. It's really not. It's a series of small moves that change how things work over time. The people who shape a workplace, a culture, a system, they don't do it through speeches or authority. They do it by showing up in ways that make things better, by being the person who helps things move forward, even in the smallest ways. The person who quietly fixes a broken process so things stop getting lost. The one who takes the time to explain something properly so people actually understand. The one who keeps track of the details that would otherwise slip through the cracks. None of this is flashy, none of it is about taking credit, but it makes everything work better. And people notice. That's how leadership builds. Not through one big moment, but through a pattern of being useful. You don't need permission to start doing that. You just have to decide where you can make things better and then do it. The moment you start leading without authority, you feel it. The pushback, the sideways glances, the quiet resistance from people who don't like that you're being listened to when they didn't give you permission. Because here's the thing. Power doesn't like competition. The people who've been handed authority expect influence to come with it. When they see someone gaining influence without the title, it unsettles them. Maybe they feel like they're losing control. Maybe they think that you're overstepping. Or maybe they just don't like the idea that leadership can happen without them. And that's when things get a little bit messy. Sometimes it's subtle, a bit of coldness, being left out of conversations. Your ideas suddenly get ignored or repackaged under someone else's name. Sometimes it's a little bit more obvious. Pushback, dismissiveness, roadblocks that weren't there before. And this is where a lot of people burn out. They hit resistance and think, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should stop pushing. Maybe I should stop pushing. But that resistance, it's proof positive that you're making an impact. If no one felt threatened, it would mean nothing was shifting. That doesn't mean you fight every battle head on. If you go to war with the wrong people, they'll shut you down before you even get started. You have to be smart about it. Find a level of alignment where you can connect your ideas to what those in power already care about. If someone senior can benefit from what you're doing, let them feel like they're a part of it. Pick your battles. Not every fight is worth it. And whatever happens, don't make it personal. This isn't about winning, it's about shifting the space so things actually change. Leadership without authority takes time. It's slow, but it lasts, because real influence isn't about seizing power. It's about shaping the way people think, how they work, how they interact. You're not trying to take control. You're trying to make something better. And that kind of leadership doesn't happen overnight. At first, no one notices. Then small shifts start to happen. People will listen a little bit more. The process changes, not because you forced it, but because people realize it made sense. Conversations sound different. Things feel different. And before anyone realizes what happened, the culture has shifted. Most people give up before they get there. They expect recognition, immediate change, some kind of moment where everything clicks. But leadership isn't about being seen. It's about impact. You don't need a title to change how things work. You don't need permission to shape culture. You just need to start and keep going, even when no one seems to notice. Because they will eventually. And by the time they do, it won't matter whether you have authority or not. You'll already be leading. If you're waiting for someone to tell you you're a leader, stop. No one's coming to hand you authority. And if they do, it won't be the thing that makes people listen to you. Leadership doesn't start with a title. It starts with the moment you decide to do something that actually matters. When you step up, when you take responsibility for something beyond your job description. When people start trusting your judgment, even in the smallest ways. Start where you are, influence what you can, and if people start following, congratulations, you're already leading. So here's the real question. What's one small way you can lead in your role today?